Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's video series with the New Indian Express. I am your host, Noor Anand Chawla, and today I'll be talking to a very, very lovely person, Vaniitha Jaiin. But let me introduce our guest to you before we begin. So Vaniitha is a wine and spirit specialist, a whiskey enthusiast, a marketing wizard, globetrotter, and a runner. But most of all, she is very passionate about wine and spirits. It was this passion that made her launch The Perfect Pour. She is also one of the only Indian judges in international wine and spirit competitions across the world. And I believe you've participated in, or you've judged 2 or 3 of them, which is really quite an amazing feat. So what is The Perfect Pour, you may be wondering? The Perfect Pour is a platform that demystifies the overwhelming world of wine and spirits to ensure that you make the best choice with every sip that you take. Vaniitha is also a popular social media influencer who has worked with many of the most noteworthy brands in the business. Her most recent collaboration is with Dartington Glassware, and she's the first Indian with whom this iconic glassware brand from UK has collaborated with to design 2 bespoke functional lines of whiskey and wine glasses under the name The Connoisseur Collection. Every piece is handmade in England using age-old, mouth-blown glass-making techniques. That's really exciting, Vaniitha. Congratulations on this collaboration. And of course, all the wonderful things that you do. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I will start with some questions. So first of all, I think the thing uppermost in all our minds, why did you decide to pursue this unusual field?
Thank you so much, Noor, for having me today and for taking the time out, for this conversation. It's truly a pleasure to be here talking to you. Well, this is a question that I don't get tired of answering, right? I think I'm asked this question possibly every other day as to how come and how did you even figure to get started into a field which is really unheard of in the space of wine, spirits. And in fact, even I hadn't heard it till I realized this passion, right? So, and this happened sometime when I was in the middle of my corporate career, and I was already a mom. I was a mom to a 1.5-year-old boy. And, back then there was always this little conflict saying that, and I've been very entrepreneurial ever since I was a kid. So I said, you know what, I do want to find that particular thing that I want to wake up for and something that I'm very passionate about. So that search and that seekingness continued. And one fine evening, there was like a mystical voice just, came in, and it was a real euphoria moment for me. And, the word wine just appeared literally, or just somebody said it in my ear. It sounds very, very funny and mystical, but it is.
I feel like that too, but and that's why I smiled. I was like, wine, yes, definitely. Definitely have some passion for that too. Please go ahead.
So, and that's how the journey started. So I started researching, and I realized there's only so many people out there in the world who studies a subject like this. It is so intellectually stimulating, challenging. And the most important thing is it would take me to the places where I've never gone to before. So the passion for travel was combined with it,
Sure.
So I said, you know what, I'm going to give this a shot. And I started from there. And then, of course, the journey continued with doing a lot of courses alongside a full-time corporate career. I was working full-time in the corporate communications, marketing, branding role for over 10 years. And then I called it all quits while this journey of being a student and pursuing qualifications and courses. And then, 2015, I called it all quits and started The Perfect Pour.
Amazing. I mean, what an inspiration you are, and I, as someone who also enjoys wine and spirits, very candidly speaking, it's great to meet a fellow lover, but you have actually taken your passion and made a career out of it. And that is the real inspiration. So your story is definitely an extraordinary one of fortitude and courage. And I know this because I have read some of your anecdotes from life before. Now, has it been difficult for you to pursue this career? What have been the challenges you have faced? And of course, how have you overcome them?
I'm so glad you asked me this because, these are things we don't speak of, pretty much, right? And you just keep moving ahead in the journey. And there have been many situations. And of course, it starts with the fact that I am a Jain, and I come from pretty much like a typical Jain family where there is enough reasons to say, you know what, I can't pursue this, society pressures, and, what's going to be the reaction, family, and all of that, right? Everything kind of went around in my head. But then the the first and most important thing was I was very sure that the field that I'm pursuing is all about, wine and spirit science. And it is so intellectually rich that it's going to only help me to go ahead and spread the awareness about how do you really appreciate this wine science and spirit science out there in your glasses. There's story in every bottle. And that's what makes me feel very confident that, you know what, I'm really out there sharing knowledge, information, creating more awareness to drink the right stuff the right way, and at the same time to really have this entire thing elevate your lifestyle. And so that's sort of a journey in these many years of ever since I discovered my passion 11 years ago, back then in 2010. And now it's been, we are in 2022, right? And the journey hasn't been easy. There have been lots of ups and downs. There have been many a times where I've been, asked as to how come you're doing this? Isn't this okay? There have been many family people, there have been relatives, there have been friends, there have been, people who've written to me on social media. I've got DMs, I've got comments, all of that. I've been, going through all of that bit. But I think the most important thing that's helped me stay true to my passion is my conviction, and that I know that I'm truly guided by my inherent need to, kind of share this entire wine and spirit science with the world in the right light. And so when I have that clarity and conviction, there is nobody who could stop me in that route, and being a woman in a male dominated industry, of course, is there out there, and
never.
So that challenge, of course, is already there, apart from, me out there being a Jain and pursuing this particular career. But I'm sure many women like me who are in this field have their, their challenges that they've been facing, they will continue to face. But I think when you have clarity and conviction, you will move forward. And I think that's exactly my strength at this point. And it's been.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm sure you're inspiring a lot more girls now that I'm hearing this side of your story. So apart from being a wine and spirits expert, what other paths have you pursued in the luxury sector specifically?
Very interesting because, even before the wine and spirits passion happened to me and this realization that happened one fine evening about, why don't I look at this subject? In fact, I kind of said that, while I was in my corporate career, I realized, why don't I go ahead and change, fields? Like if I'm working and I'm leading a, marketing and branding for, say, a tech company, I wanted to switch and lead that for a luxury brand. And so I said, all right, let's go. And I went and studied at the Essex Business School, and I did this particular luxury brand management course. And I realized, all right, I'm going to go and join in an LVMH and all of that, all of those amazing luxury firms, and then lead a Copcom or a, branding role out there. And then when I came back, I realized, you know what, it still doesn't cut it for me as much as I've added another, knowledge and experience of knowing how to possibly go out there and lead a luxury brand. But it really doesn't kind of help me to solve my problem of what do I wake up for with that zeal and passion to say, you know what, I want to own this. I want to really figure and learn and create an impact in the space. So from that point of view, yes, I kind of gave you an answer which is slightly different, but and post which is actually when I started pursuing wine and spirits, and I realized this is really the luxury side of the segment that I want to focus on, which is, I mean, wine and spirits both have their all the elements, right from a value, premium, and the luxury segment. And I realized it's so niche and it's so specific that this is going to elevate people's lifestyle if they know much more about it. And that's where I focused on the luxury side of it. But what I've done in these years is that I've worked and partnered with a lot of brands, whether it's a Swiss luxury watch brand or, luxury whiskey brands or wine brands, and worked with them to develop, or even hotels for that matter, where it comes to, developing and actually curating very exquisite experiences for their members, for their guests, or at the same time creating brand properties for these brands and hotels, and, I would say opportunities where you really have to bring forth two very important segments to come and, amalgamate, which is where, for example, when I worked with a particular Swiss luxury watch brand called GLC recently, we actually brought the entire essence of time and wine, and so when you think of it, you're like, wow, I mean, actually, there is so much in terms of the craftsmanship that goes together when it comes to, an amazing watch and the craftsmanship that goes behind making that, and the essence of time. Why do you wear a watch? To a wine that takes its own time to be, made, to for the grapes to harvest, and for, of course, the aging of the wine, the complexity of the wine as you mature it and all of that. But so this is the whole amalgamation of when you can bring two specific subjects and show the world out there, saying there is so much synchronicity between all of these things that are actually a part of your daily life. So I think for me, that's luxury to understand. And that's possibly how I, share with the world with the work that I do.
Oh, wonderful. So coming from, this idea of, luxury and how it's all connected, I see that you have a very vibrant social media personality. So how did you venture into influencing, and has that helped with your career choice of being a wine and spirits expert? And of course, do you enjoy it?
I think I never realized when I started this career of getting into this passion and then turning this passion into profession of, really, really creating awareness, being the wine buyer and the spirits, advocate, and as well as judging wines internationally and working with HNIs and hotels and restaurants and brands and saying, I'm going to be doing this. But at the same time, I realized that over time, I wanted to kind of create more awareness. And the only way I could do that was to go out there on social media and, share my knowledge and know-how. So that's where I started out my YouTube channel, and I started seeing the need of it. And I started seeing some of my videos going absolutely, viral, people loving it, asking for more content, trying to engage and seek more information. And there's so many things they do not know, the do's and don'ts. There's so many myths you can bust, and people are amazed saying that, oh, wow, I mean, I didn't know this, about just say as simple as storing a bottle of wine in the right way to, drinking the whiskey in the right way to. So from there to then Instagram, of course, which is today the main social media platform out there, which is a social media influencing platform. So because of I think the content that I started, sharing out there, people started obviously enjoying the content, and the videos started going viral, especially. And during the pandemic, I guess, when all the other things kind of took a back seat, content became king. And that's where I would say the leap happened, and I ensured that I'm going to put my best out there and create as much awareness as I can. And I think that journey took me to a level where I realized that this is it. People really are seeking information, and what better than this, that I could share, teach, educate, at the same time, entertain them, right? So, and I think brands have realized that very well, and that's where the collaborations and the media properties started to arise. So being a social media influencer at the same time is not easy while you're an expert in this space, because you're constantly juggling two things. Yeah, absolutely right. And but then I think the joy of engagement, and when you see your content really doing well, helping people, is where you realize this is worth all the effort.
Great. So influencing is basically educational, which is great, right? When you look at it that way, you're imparting information, and rightfully so. So actually now you've touched on the collaboration. So let's come to that, the most important subject for today. How did this collaboration with Dartington Glassware come about, and what is your role in it exactly?
Great. So in fact, when I started this journey, Noor, of figuring, what is it that I want to do? How will this journey sort of pan out? So I actually do have like a flip chart where I wrote down all my goals. And this is one exercise a few years ago. I sat down and I did, saying that, what, I want to see where this passion could take me, right? How do I turn this into a meaningful profession that makes me feel proud of myself at the end of the day, right? And so one of the goals was to actually, create my own glassware, and to be able to make this glassware a part of people's life to elevate their experience. And I didn't realize that that this is going to happen, but it did happen. It took me a year. So last year, sometime early last year, I realized that, okay, now I'm ready for it. I'm absolutely, sure of the kind of glassware that I want to create. And then I reached out to Dartington, Crystal. In fact, through Think Kitchen, who's actually facilitated the entire collaboration for us. Okay. So Think Kitchen is an omni-channel retailer of, tableware, serveware, and they deal with possibly some of the most premium luxury brands out there. And when I went with this idea, and I said that, I want to really create specifically, two glassware, one for whiskey and one for wine. And I want to do this in a way that it really elevates the experience. And then the discussion started with Dartington, and Dartington was, I'm grateful and thankful, saying that we want to do this, and that's when, the discussion started, and it took us quite a few months actually to decide between all of us, saying that what is it that we want to achieve in the wine glass and in the whiskey glass. So that's the way, the collaboration began. And so it's really come to life after having said that. I did envision this, and Dartington Think Kitchen helped me to really bring this to life,
So explain to me what is different about the glasses, and what should we be looking for, and how do they stand apart from what already exists?
Absolutely. So in fact, I have the wine glass with me ready for you. Yes. And, what I would also do is I'll just show you how this glass is sent to, the consumers who order. So this is sent in a really beautiful packaging. In fact, the box you're seeing right now is of the whiskey box. So that's a smaller box, a set of two. And once you open that, you get this in there.
Wow. Wonderful. Very, very nice.
So this is a set of two of wine glasses. Thank you. And so that's the wine glass. It's actually a glass which solves a really important problem. And that is, to really declutter your bar and to elevate your glass collection by having one glass for all types of wine.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So what the physics of it, how does that work? Please explain.
Right. Absolutely. So this is what I call as a universal wine glass. And, we realize that every time we think of wine, it does get intimidating. You think of, you want to have a red wine glass separately, a white wine glass, a glass for, champagnes. And having collected so much glassware, I realize it's never enough, right? So I wanted to really help people solve that problem by not crowding their bars, and to have this one and only glass. Having said, I have the experience now and the expertise to say, what is it that the glass should deliver to you when you drink, right? So I came up with a classic design, which has got the tulip shape, bowl, and a really good length of the stem. At the same time, the entire glass is made by crystal, and it's handmade and mouth blown. So the design, of course, lends to a very important element, which is to enhance your sensory experience. So when you see the glass, and I hope we were together and I could help you, hold this glass and experience it. But the whole idea was to make, absolutely, I'm looking forward to that, to make this classic and timeless. So when it is classic and timeless, it has the adaptability to, be universal, right? At the same time. So the glass's objective is to be classic, timeless, and to be really elegant in design. And at the same time, the entire weight and balance of the glass should be so brilliantly executed, which it is, that it really helps to enhance your, wine drinking experience. And one of the most important features that I love about this glass is actually the tapered rims. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not as clear right now, but it's the tapered rims. It's thin, it's very thin. And that really enhances, the wine drinking experience. So for me, this one wine glass is perfect for all types of wine, may it be red, may it be white, rosé, sweet wines, champagnes, sparkling wines, and for any occasion. And, this is truly something that should be in everyone's bar, that just helps them to, not crowd their bars and have one wine glass solve the problem. And I was actually very inspired by the Champagne region, because, they went out there and they said, you don't need to drink champagnes anymore from flutes. Oh, okay. Because Yeah, absolutely. Because whenever you drink from flutes, you have the bubbles of the champagne staying in there for a longer time. But they realize that also limits your sensory enhancing experience. So, when you need the wine to really open up, and that's what the bowl and the shape of the glass does for you, right? So the idea is to actually drink champagne from another glass, which could be a white wine glass, and that's what they've all moved into. So
Okay.
if a region like Champagne, which is so traditional, which is so specific about their glassware and the way it needs to be had, if they could go out there and say, you know what, go ahead and drink champagne from a regular wine glass, of course, a glass that suits that particular type of champagne, then I think and we've done that, right, over several situations and experiences and judging and all of those instances. And I've realized that the experience of drinking that particular champagne in, say, a regular wine glass is always much better than drinking in a flute. So that's just a sort of an analogy that I'm trying to give you. And I've realized that, I mean, as much as you might say that I would love to have a red wine in a much more bigger bowl glass, but why not for white wine as well, right? So the whole debate can continue. But the idea is, what is it that really, the shape, the sensory enhancing form that leads you to, for the wine to travel from here to your lips and to deliver that. Yeah, absolutely. That smooth experience where you'll be able to really let every grape shine. And I think that's what the universal glass does. It has a tall stem. It's got a pretty good shape of the sensory enhancing form. And I was truly guided by functionality. It needed to be functional, right? So for me, that's a very important factor. So when it comes to functionality, it does the job for all types of wine for any occasion. I hope I kind of explained to you,
Yes,
how this
very well. And it's fascinating. I had never thought about, this, but it's true, because we do overcrowd our bars with a lot of glasses. So this is the solution to that. Do you also have the whiskey glass? We would love to have a peek at it if it's there. Oh, it's so cute.
There you
Wow,
go.
wonderful.
Yeah.
So
For
please
me,
tell
I
us a
mean,
little
this is,
about the design of this.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Noor. I mean, this is actually a must-have for every whiskey enthusiast. I will say that. And for an expert, for beginners, and for, even an enthusiast. And that applies even for the, universal wine glass that I'm talking to you about. And this particular glass actually has been specifically designed to aerate the whiskey better. I'm sure you know that whiskey's alcohol level is much higher, right? It's like about 40% ABV. So, and every time you have you're somebody, if you enjoy drinking whiskey and appreciating it in the way it's intended to, right? You do not want to add too much of water and too much of ice or whatever else, any other mixer. So you want to ensure that the pour is in a certain quantity, that, and with a dash of water, possibly a little ice, it really helps you to enjoy the whiskey and its complexity and the rich flavor. So that's the reason that I try to achieve a design that's wide enough here and then gets tapered on the top. So the rim taper, so the whiskey delivers from the wide bowl to a narrower top, and actually smoothly transfers onto your palate to express all the rich aromas of rich aromas and flavors of the whiskey. Otherwise, what happens is, in a more narrower glass, which there are some traditional whiskey tasting glasses which are very specifically used in professional scenarios, but I've felt the limitation with those glasses, and I felt that the whiskey just hits you. It's very volatile. The alcohol just sort of, the vapors, it just kind of gets it gets your eyes very watery. And I didn't want that to happen with somebody who wants to sit by on a after a long day with a glass that also helps them to appreciate better, and to be able to deliver the finest expression of the whiskey to them. So that really is the goal with the whiskey glass. I would say it's a must have for anyone who loves their fine whiskeys.
Wonderful. And because it's so distinctive looking, we will always know that this is by Vaniitha Jaiin and the Perfect Pour. So thank you for showing us and walking us through that. But most importantly, how can people source these beautiful glasses? Please tell us the information that we need to know.
Yes. So, as I mentioned to you about Think Kitchen, they have a retail platform, an e-commerce site, which is thinkkitchen.in. So both the glassware, if you go out there and you just write Dartington, X Vaniitha Jaiin, so you'll find the glasses there. It's also there in the collaborations page on the thinkkitchen.in. So it's very easy. Or you go to my Instagram, which is the perfect pour. You'll find the link of this particular page where you can buy the glassware from in the bio. And most interesting news is that we are on Tata Click Luxury, I think,
Oh,
as of today.
oh,
Yes. So you'll also
congratulations.
find the glassware. Thank you. So you also will find, both the glassware listed out there for you to purchase the glassware and to really elevate your experience. So thinkkitchen.in right now it's where you'll find it, and it's also available on Tata Click Luxury.
Wonderful. We'll also mention it in the description of this video. So thank you so much for, explaining everything to us. And we'd love to know what you're working on next. Any exciting projects in the works?
That's a very interesting question. I think somebody like me can't sit quiet.
And you shouldn't. I mean, we're excited, so we want to know more.
I would love to share, but there's so much going on right now. We've just launched, the whiskey glasses and the wine glasses, right, of the connoisseur collection. So I'm really excited to see this moving. The feedback and the last, I would say 10 days of launching this has been very exciting, because when you see every piece getting delivered to your, customer, it's I think it's an incredible feeling. I feel absolutely overjoyed to see this dream come true, right, of designing a glass and then seeing it in this shape and form and in the hands of the consumer. So to say that it's my first consumer product, my first D2C out there, is a big step. So the next thing, of course, would be to continue in the D2C side of things, but not sure as yet what is the next thing. But I would hope that I enhance and elevate this range further of the glassware, and I see that more and more people understand the need to really have great glassware to absolutely enjoy their drinking experience.
Wonderful. And maybe perhaps we'll see a Vaniitha Jain glassware line one day.
Absolutely.
Owned by you 100%. And that is something very exciting, and we all look forward to that. So thank you very much, Vaniitha, for joining us this evening. And of course, I urge everybody, please do check out The Perfect Pour and do buy the Dartington X Vaniitha Jain glassware. Thank you so very much. I'm your host, Noor Anand Chawla, signing off.